Hey, what's going on, guys? SnivyPootis here. Welcome back to the video. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys a little bit of things that you may not know about Paladin. Now, what is Paladin? Well, for those who don't know what Paladin is, Paladin, as you may have probably guessed, is a tank job that you unlock in Final Fantasy XIV, and is one of the original tank jobs as well, meaning that it came alongside a warrior, and you had it launched with Rome Reborn. Now, Paladin, to summarize, is basically just a tank that has a lot of supportive aspects to it. So healing and damage mitigation and all that stuff. Now, while every tank has a form of damage mitigation for the entire party, you know, Paladin has more tools at its disposal to keep the party alive compared to the other tanks. Like, it's more geared to keep people alive, more than individuals, really, but it also does have party mitigation that helps really well as well. And we're going to be going over all of that, just to make sure that you guys can know what to do. So, I'm not going to be teaching how to play Paladin from start to finish, because I don't really want to rub that into your head, because there's plenty of better videos that you can reference yourself to in order to know how to play Paladin, like, you know, the best that you can. This is just a video that is going to be highlighting things that you may not know about the job that will help you in the future, and also just general probably tanking tips for those people who are really just wanting to push their Paladin to the next limit, because there's some things that Paladin players don't know, even like some higher level players don't know, and it's really surprising me to see that. But you know, this is just more like spreading the word type of video, I guess you could say. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into something. Now, the very first thing that you want to know is that when it comes to Paladin, that hallowed ground, you may think that, okay, great, you press hallowed ground, I'm invincible, you're chilling, you can't get hit by anything, because Paladin's invuln is the only invuln where you press it and there's no strings attached. But that's also technically not true, but we'll get into that a little bit. But so, think about it. Warriors, you invuln yourself, you chain yourself to a person or enemy, whatever, and then you're invulnerable by basically not being able to drop to 0 in terms of HP. But, you know, you still take damage and all that during that time. So even if you have home game available and you have it on and it's working as intended, you can still get the 1 HP. So as soon as home game runs out, you need to be healed up really fucking fast. Otherwise, the next auto attack is going to literally just dome you to the head and you're just going to die. And with Dark Knight is probably the most frustrating one. But that's a different topic for a different video. Dark Knights, you have to activate it first, and then you die on purpose. And then once you die, you have like a huge amount of life steal that you use to get yourself back to 100k, whatever your max HP is. And or you can just get healed by a healer, but usually you do it yourself nowadays because they changed it, thank goodness. And then once that happens, then it's basically just like home game where you can't get reduced to 0 HP with the new buff that you get after getting yourself back to full. But if you don't get yourself back to the full for whatever reason, then you just die. So yeah, and then you have Gunbreakers where if you pop it, you get reduced to 1 HP, but then you get the true invuln that Paladin has. So you shoot yourself in the head, basically, and then you get to 1 HP, but then you don't take any damage further after that. And while that can be good, you know, if you don't have any like healing cooldowns available for yourself, or your healers are like off in La La Land, then you can still die. But with Paladin is the only tank where you pop your invuln and you're invulnerable completely, meaning you take 0 damage from all attacks, well, most attacks, and then once it runs out, then you're just, you know, you have full HP, or just however many HP that you had when you popped it. So what's the downside to that? Because you may be thinking, oh, well, that sounds awesome, you know, I pop my invulnerability and I'm actually invulnerable with no, like, bullshittery attached to it. What's the problem with that? And the problem with that is that it has the longest cooldown in terms of tank cooldowns in the game. Actually, it has the longest cooldown of any ability in the game, period. Like with 420 seconds. So quite a long time for it to come back on cooldown. So if you have a Paladin and your raid or your ultimate, then if you have to use your invuln for whatever reason, you have to work around that a lot. And that's the only big issue with Paladin and their invuln, and having a Paladin in general, because like with Warrior and, you know, Dark Knight, and to an extent Gunbreaker, you can kind of work around it a lot easier, especially with Warrior. Warriors can basically pop their home game like anytime they want, when within reason. They can pop it anytime they want when they need it, and they usually have a backup when they need it again. So they can pop willy-nilly. With Paladin, even if you pop it at the beginning of the fight for whatever reason, like I guess if you're dying to the tank buster a lot, like Dyke and P11, you won't have it by the next tank buster. It maybe not even the next tank buster or whatever big tank hitting move that you get hit by, because that's just how it is. Because the cooldown is so long that you have to plan out the entire fight with that cooldown in mind, because you can't just spend it willy-nilly and just expect to have it when you need it, because if you spend it at a bad time, then you might not have it for the rest of the pull. So it's that bad. Yeah, but that being said, the true invuln is helpful. However, also keep in mind that when you pop it, it has to also have the longest wind up in the game compared to the other tanks. All the other tanks, they pop it. I mean, to it, Gunbreaker is kind of the same way, but it's a lot less noticeable. But with Paladin, there's a whole second of wind up before the ability actually goes out. So you press you press hollow ground, and then your character does this little spin animation, and they raise your fist in the air, and then you actually get the invuln. So it's not like just a press it and then you get it. You have to actually have a second before it pulls onto you. So keep that in mind when you're having a tank buster about to knock you in the noggin, because there's a chance that you might accidentally pop it too early and then you die, or pop it too late and then you die. So you have to pop it well in advance, but not too advanced where it falls off before you actually get hit.
Also, editing time here. I also forgot to mention that if you pop hollow ground, you will still get the status effect even if you get hit by the AoE and take no damage from it. So keep that in mind as well.
Probably no, but cover is an ability where basically you target a party member and you take the damage for them. Now that sounds great and all, but that can also lead to some trouble if they get hit by a bunch of AoEs that would kill them and you in any circumstance, or just one AoE that kills you or them. Because how it works is that you take the damage for them and the status effect that would come with it. So if an AoE would give a vuln, then you will take the damage with the vuln as well. So you'll get a vuln and the damage. So it's basically as if you got hit twice. So if you were standing in an AoE that gives you a vuln and takes damage from it, but you cover them and they're standing in the same AoE, then you take the damage twice. So there's a chance, even as a tank, that you might still die from that, depending on how bad the AoE is. In normal content, you probably won't really need to worry about it, but in Savage or Ultimate, God forbid, you most likely will not have to use cover very much. But if you do use cover, just keep in mind that if the party member that you cover gets hit by a move that does a shit ton of damage or gives a status effect, then you're probably going to get that too. But there's also a benefit for that, because if you cover someone that's taking a tank buster, say for example, a good example of this is E9S, which is Cloud Darkness. So how their tank buster works, also I think there's similar tank busters, but anyway, how their tank buster works is that you slap it on, they slap on a magic vuln and then they hit you. So you have to either invuln it or you have to tank swap. But with your Paladin, you can have the Paladin off tank cover you, and then they get the magic vuln, but then since the for whatever reason, it still doesn't go through cover. So the actual damage part doesn't go through cover. So if you cover them, then they'll still get hit, but you won't. So you can cover them, but you'll take the status effect, but they won't take it instead of you. So say for example, I don't know, your warrior popped home game in probably the first roll accident, whatever. And then they don't have home game for the tank buster, but you're a Paladin, so you cover them. You take the status effect for the magic roll down, and then they take the damage like normal, and they just mitigate it, heal the heal, whatever. They're fine. You're cool. They're all living. As long as you don't get hit by an auto for whatever reason, then you're fine. So it is helpful in that case. But there is a case also where you could just cover someone and then pop hollow ground, and then you would take no damage, and they'll take no damage, and then you all be happy go lucky, happy go gory, whatever. But it doesn't really work that way anymore. They kind of ninja patched it. I don't know how people haven't noticed it yet, but if you cover someone with hollow ground down and they take damage from a lethal attack, then it goes through your invuln. Even if you have it on and you pop it at the right time and all that stuff, you still get hit by it like normal. So keep that in mind when you're covering someone with invuln. You're better off just using your mitigations yourself, because at least then you might not die from the damage outright if it's a big hitting AoE attack that they weren't supposed to be standing in. But most case scenarios, you shouldn't have to cover your teammates. They should just learn to, not get hit by the AoE. but it's more of like a desperate times desperate situation where, like, I don't know, like there's like an animation lock for whatever reason, or they're gonna be taking damage from an attack that will kill them, like, I don't know, Warren's Breath 1 in ESR, something like that. You know, it could be helpful then. But even then, that's a bit of a stretch, because that could still end up winding with you dead anyway. But I digress. Anyway, with that being said, there's also another skill that's very helpful for Intervention. Intervention is very, very nice for keeping your teammates alive and all that stuff, yada yada yada. But the thing that people don't do is read their tooltips, because if you didn't know already, which you should, because you gotta read the tooltips, please read the tips. But if you pop Rampart or Sentinel, which is your damage reduction as a tank, everyone tank has one, which is your 90 second and 120 second. If you pop either of those or both with Intervention putting onto someone, they also get the benefits of that. So if you pop Rampart and you Intervention someone, they get the damage reduction from Rampart, Intervention, and Knight's Benediction, I think it's called, or Knight's Resolve. It's the extra damage mitigation that you get now with Endwalker, but they get a bunch of damage mitigation from that, and that's really helpful for, like, if they gotta take a really heavy hitting attack on their caster. It's really helpful for casters, because casters are squishiest DPS out there, especially Black Mage, not speaking from experience. But if you want to help out a caster that's dying to damage a lot, then that's a great way to do it. Just keep in mind that you want to make sure you do it only if you know, you don't have to take a tank buster that's gonna hit like hell later, because obviously you don't want to waste Rampart on an Intervention if, like, you have a tank buster coming up in the next like 60 seconds or so, because then you're gonna have less mitigation for yourself later, and then that can cause a wipe later down the road. So keep that in mind. You don't want to waste it. It's only for desperate times, desperate measure type of situation, like I said earlier, and also if, you know, there's no repercussions for wasting your Rampart or Sentinel for that later. Another thing that people don't want to talk about is Clemency. Now, Clemency is a big controversial ability for Paladin. I cannot explain to you enough how many times I've had healers in my party or outside my party, or just in voice calls with me or with the Paladin that's there with them, or either in the voice call out of it, where they would get mad at the Paladin for casting Clemency on themselves or on a teammate that's about to die or whatever. Now, I will say this, Clemency is something that is like an emergency only, because the thing about Clemency that's nice is that it's basically like a heal that you don't have to worry about using, like, you know, OGCDs for. It's not an OGCD heal like, you know, Legion Flash or Harder Corundum, or I guess TBN, but TBN doesn't heal. But regardless, it's not a OGCD, it's a GCD. So you can spend it as much as you want, but it costs 2,000 mana per. So you can cast it about 5 times before you run out of mana, which is something you definitely don't want to do. But I will say this, it does also heal yourself, so keep that in mind when you use it, because it can be beneficial for both you and the person you're healing if, like, you know, you're both taking a shit ton of damage. But again, the thing about Clemency is that it's only a thing you want to use if the healers are struggling on mana or they're both dead. Never use Clemency if the healers are fine and they know what they're doing, because, like, it's a waste of damage on your part, and it's a waste of GC as well as, you know, just not needed. Like, if your healers are like a white mage and, I don't know, a scholar or a astro, for God forbid, like, you don't want to be using Clemency unless your healers are literally like this, I don't know, square hole into triangle hole level brain intelligence. You don't want to be doing that, because it's just not going to be doing anything for yourself, because they can just heal you way faster and way more efficiently. Clemency is only to be used as a desperate measure situation if your healers are either slacking or if the healers are both dead. Because really, there's no other reason to use it, and please do not use it with Requiem Scat. Because while it is an instant cast and it does more potency under what Requiem Scat, I hope I'm saying that right, but it's just a waste. Like, please do not do that. You only want to use Requiem Scat for your sword combo, and that's it. Because if you use it for Clemency, if I catch you doing that, I will hunt you down myself. But yes, Clemency is only something you want to use if the worst case scenario. Otherwise, don't use it, because while it sounds great on paper, like 20k potency, I think it is 20k potency for free. Wow, that's awesome. Like, no, Like, you don't want to do that to your healers. Trust me, it will not end well. I'm not gonna say it's gonna like get you booted from your stat or anything, but just keep that in mind, especially if the DPS check is tight. Do not use clemency under any circumstance, because you just gotta trust your heals with them. Because it's a lot better to just keep going along with your damage and have the DPS die while your damage is consistent, rather than you just spamming clemency and then trying to heal your DPS before they die. But then, oh no, I don't have any mana left to do my sword combo now. So like, you know, it still screws you over. It has 2,000 mana cost, so you have to keep that in mind when you're doing it. But again, just only for just voters for that one. And not last but not least, one more thing I want to talk about that I really would love to you know, get across more. It's just common mistake that you want to do, like want to avoid. with Paladin, which is again clemency. Don't use it under dire circumstances. Don't use it any other time, because I swear to God, it is not worth it. Trust me, it is not worth it. I've been playing Paladin for a while. I know it sounds great on paper. It sounds like everything you would want for a tank job, you know, or for a Paladin dream, I guess, dream fantasy, whatever you want to call it. But it really just isn't worth it, and you're gonna be missing out on more damage if you do that. So just, yeah, always do not use clemency under any circumstances unless it is absolutely necessary. But another common mistake I want to see is that oath gauge management. Maybe thinking this might be common sense, but you know, you might be thinking also as well, like, oh, I want to pop, you know, Sheltron under every tank buster. And that may be true, but you only want to do that if you've been overcapped on your gauge for a while. Spending your gauge is not really a bad thing, because like there's only things that you spend your gauge on is intervention, cover, and Sheltron. Other than that, you don't use your gauge for anything else. But you always want to make sure that you have enough gauge for your next tank buster if it's a really bad one. Like, say for example, oh, my party member is gonna die, intervention, but then they're fine, and then, oh no, I don't have Sheltron for this next tank buster. That really hurts. So you want to make sure to manage your oath gauge wisely, because like, well, it may seem like it builds up super fast, like you never know when you might spend gauge willy-nilly and then all of a sudden you don't have enough for yourself. Or I guess if you, for the reverse, if you need it for someone else. So make sure to keep that in mind when you're using your oath gauge abilities, because you may never know when you need to use it for a different situation. And also, Passion of Arms. Passion of Arms is a really good ability for damage mitigation for a lot of reasons. Mainly this tier. This tier is really good for Passions of Arms users, but if you ever use Passions of Arms, keep in mind that you can just flash it by weaving it in between your DCDs, and you still get the benefits of Passions of Arms while also, you know, getting the damage reduction and also not dropping your combo and all that stuff. Because you don't want to hold Passions of Arms unless the boss is untargetable. If the boss is targetable, hold it for as long as you can. But if it is targetable during that moment, then you flash it and you keep going as you do. Like any other OGCD, you flash it. So you want to make sure that it at least has enough time to do half the animation. Because if you do it too early, then you'll go off cooldown. It'll go on cooldown, and then you won't get the benefits of it at all. But you want to make sure it has a split second to actually start doing the animation, and then you keep going. Because, you know, if you hold it, then you're going to be spending on GCDs, and if you do it too, cancel it too soon, then you won't get the damage reduction at all, and your party won't get it either. So, yeah, always be sure to flash it at just the right time, so that it has enough time to go out, and also enough time for you to continue your combo without, you know, holding it for too long. And that's pretty much it. I didn't want this to be a huge beefy video, but you know, I know I can talk for a while. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helped me in the algorithm, and I want trying to hope to get the 50 subscribers by the end of this year, and that would be really wonderful to see. So that's been me, and I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow for, I don't know. We'll see. Bye now.